There's got to be more than going back and forth, from doing right to doing wrong, 'cause we're taught that's who we are. Come on, get in line right behind me, you along with everybody, thinking there's worth in what you do.
Then like a hero who takes the stage when we're on the edge of our seat, saying it's too late.
Well, let me introduce you to Amazing Grace. Come on, sing it with us. No matter the bumps, no matter the bruises, no matter the scars, still the truth is the cross has made you flawless. No matter the hurt or how deep the wound is, no matter the pain, 'cause still the truth is the cross has made you flawless. Could it possibly be that we simply can't believe that this unconditional kind of love would be enough to
Take a filthy wretch like this and wrap him up in righteousness.
But that's exactly what he did. Here we go. No matter the bumps, no matter the bruises, no matter the scars, 'cause still the truth is the cross has made you flawless. No matter the hurt or how deep the wound is, no matter the pain, 'cause still the truth is the cross has made you flawless. Ooh. Take a breath, smile, and say right here, right now, I'm okay because the cross was enough. Then like a hero who takes the stage when we're on the edge of our seat, saying it's too late. Well, let me introduce you to Grace, God's grace.
Sing it.
No matter the bumps, no matter the bruises, no matter the scars, 'cause still the truth is the cross has made you flawless. No matter the hurt or how deep the wound is, no matter the pain, 'cause still the truth is the cross has made you flawless. No matter what they say or what you think you are, the day he called his name, he made you flawless. He made us flawless. One more time. No matter the bumps, no matter the bruises, no matter the scars, 'cause still the truth is the cross has made you flawless. Woo. Keep worshiping with us. You know this one too.
It's okay to not be okay. This is a safe place. This is a safe place. Don't be afraid. Don't be ashamed. There's still hope here. There's but to share your grace and love. And exhale.
Please sing this with us.
Oh God, we breathe in your grace. We breathe in your grace.
And exhale.
Exhale.
Oh God.
Oh God, we do not exist for us, but to share your grace and love. And exhale.
Just let go.
Just let go. Let his love wrap around you and hold you close. Get lost in the surrender. Breathe it in until your heart breaks. And exhale.
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 Woo.
Awesome. You can have a seat.
Yeah.
As you can see, we're missing a few of our members today, but we're glad you're here with us, and let's keep on worshiping. I am guilty, ashamed of what I've done, what I've become. These hands are dirty. I dare not lift them up to the Holy One. You plead my cause, you right my wrongs, you break my chains, you overcome, you gave your life to give me mine. You say that I am free. How can it be? Yeah. How can it be?
This week starts a new series all about being crazy, all about relationships. And if we've ever had a relationship, if you've ever had a relationship, you know there's some crazy ones. But as Pastor Vicky's going to let you know, it's all about being your kind of crazy. One of the themes that you're going to hear throughout this series is communication. Who you talk to, how you talk to them, and how you're talked to. There's some folks in here right now that are having a communication problem. I'm not talking about with your spouse. I'm not talking about with your girlfriend or your boyfriend or your brother, your sister, your mom or dad. I'm talking about a communication problem with God. Because the reality is we want the Spirit. We want to be filled with the Spirit. We want God to do, and we want God to bless and protect and all those things, but would you do any of that stuff for somebody who never talks to you? It'd be really hard. Now, granted, God's better than all that, but God made us to be social individuals. He made us individuals that need other things, other people. He made us to communicate. God demands communication from us. So, if you're sitting here today and you have a bug about something, whether it was hard getting the kids into the car this morning, or whether your husband snored all night and you didn't get any sleep, whatever it is, it's causing you to take a step back from God and say, I'm just not all about this today. I encourage you to take that step forward, that one step closer. Stand right there in front of God and say, I'm here. I'm willing to listen. More importantly, say something. Say something to God. You'll be amazed at the response you might get. If you find that to be very difficult this morning, ask yourself, how can it be that it got to this place? What is it about you? What is it about your relationship with God that causes you not to be able to communicate so well? Ask yourself, how can it be? As we continue the song, when we get to the chorus, the "You Plead My Cause," I really encourage you to make that your prayer and to sing that with me when we get there. I've been hiding, afraid I've let you down. Inside I doubt that you still love me, but in your eyes there's only grace now. Here we go, sing this with me. You plead my cause, you right my wrongs, you break my chains, you overcome, you gave your life to give me mine. You said that I am free. How can it be? Yeah. How can it be?
Though I fall, you can make me new. From this death I will rise with you. Oh, the grace reaching out for me. How can it be? How can it be?
Chorus, one more time, here we go.
You plead my cause, you right my wrongs, you break my chains, you overcome, you gave your life to give me mine. You say that I am free. How can it be? Yeah. How can it be? You plead my cause, you right my wrongs, you break my chains, you overcome, you gave your life to give me mine. You say that I am free. How can it be?
Pray with me. Lord, we are here. We are right here. I don't know how, but you love us so much. I thank you. I thank you that your Spirit is among us, in us, willing us to take one step closer to you. As we prepare our hearts and our minds for Pastor Vicky's message, I encourage you to stay centered right here in this moment, right here in the middle of God's Spirit. And if you're not sure that's a place you want to be, then I encourage you to offer up this prayer to maybe change your mind. The prayer that Jesus taught his disciples to pray by saying, Our Father, who art in heaven.
Hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And give us this day our daily bread. And forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who sin against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever.
Great job. Thank you.
Welcome to iFire, where the next evolution of faith is taking you one step closer. Whether you are a first-time guest or a lifelong member, go ahead and fill out your Connect card. If you are a first-time guest, please indicate that on the card. The church gives $5 to the Emmanuel Care Center for every first-time guest who fills out a card. And be sure to flip over the card for the latest sign-up opportunity.
Bringing children one step closer to Jesus is central to our identity here at iFire. Our nursery is available for children 6 weeks to 3 years old. For children in preschool through 6th grade, we have commotion downstairs starting 15 minutes before the service. Ask any greeter where to go.
Your offerings continue to impact the people and ministries of this church. Here's just another example of how your offerings are touching lives. Or give online by going to ifiregerard.com and clicking on Give. Or you can drop your offering with your Connect card and the metal kiosks on your way out. As we like to say, feed the robot. Friend Day is February 12th. We've got great music, a great message planned, a great atmosphere, and a great God. It shouldn't be too hard to bring a friend. Start thinking about who you want to invite to worship with us that day.
On February 25th, you're invited to our chili cook-off and bake-off. All the proceeds from the event will benefit Anna Booth. Anna is an 8th grader from McDonald who is battling liver cancer. So if you'd like to show the church your culinary skill and benefit a great cause, then please see me, Andrea Biss, or Karen Fisher to sign up.
Don't forget to follow iFire Gerard on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter to stay connected throughout the week, and on YouTube to see all of our videos, including this one.
Paycheck to paycheck, and we went out to eat all the time, sometimes like 2, 3, 4 times a day. We were behind on everything. We would try to pay our bills, but everything was always late.
We both brought a lot of debt into the relationship. We both got married completely unprepared for what financial life was really like, and that was before we had kids.
Well, first of all, it was fun. The videos and things that we sat through were entertaining, and they were also informative, but they were fun to watch. We learned how to budget our money.
When we first started going through the process, though, we never talked about money at all. We just spent. So we were constantly getting overdraft fees from the bank, bouncing checks. It was really bad. So one of the things we really started to do outside of having fun was we just started communicating better, or at all.
We never thought we'd be able to buy a house. We always thought, well, we'll just rent and do what we have to do to get by. We never thought we'd be able to buy a house by paying off the things we did. Now we've built up our credit and we have a house. The other thing that we changed is that we don't use credit cards anymore. We used to have a ton of credit cards.
Yeah, we haven't used
And
one
we
of those.
don't have any. We don't even have any.
We keep an emergency fund. That alone makes a world of difference.
Because of that emergency fund and because of our budgeting, when you got laid off of your job, we really didn't even touch the emergency fund. We were able to re-budget. We were still able to maintain our savings.
We've had to re-budget
Yeah.
with each new child. That's for sure.
Yeah, you up the clothing fund, you up the food fund, you adjust the entertainment fund because,
Yeah, that's gone down over the years.
yeah, there's minimal entertainment, but when we have it, it costs more.
But it is those big things in life, though, that if you're already doing a budget and something huge happens, you'll be okay because you'll know what to do. One of the great things about budgeting and going through financial peace for us, for our marriage, has been we still argue, we bicker. We
Not
have
really about money, though.
never about money. The biggest hurdle, I think, in getting started with financial peace is thinking, I can't do it. So we're definitely going to do it again, and we invite you to join us. If you don't do it for you, do it for your kids. Do it for the people that are going to come in contact with them later on.
Okay, I hope that you'll be part of that. Financial Peace University is something that I've been through as well, and this last November, I believe it was, I can say we are debt-free because of what we learned at Financial Peace University. So please come out and be a part of that. It is fun. You can't believe how much fun they make it, believe it or not, and it will help to bring peace to your relationships. So please come out and be a part. The other thing is next week is Friend Day. So please begin to thinking about who it is that you can invite to be a part of this, to be a part of our worship next week. We're going to talk about the value of friends, about the value of the people that we share our life with. So please invite somebody for Friend Day. I know that you're supposed to invite people all the time, but do we? No. Okay. This one Sunday, invite your friends to come with you. Pick them up, and take them out for lunch afterwards, all right? Do whatever you have to get them to come just one Sunday. We've got an awesome, awesome church to be able to be a part of. Well, we're starting a new message series this week called My Kind of Crazy. My Kind of Crazy. And so we're going to talk about relationships. So today we're going to talk about marriage. Next week we're talking about friendship. The week after that we're going to talk about kids and family. And then the last week we're going to talk about healing from broken relationships. Because every one of us, if we have been alive for any time at all, we have experienced a broken relationship. We may be living in a broken relationship. And we need to be able to find God's healing in the midst of that and be able to move on. So we'll be able to talk about that a little bit too. Now remember, a year ago we had our relationship series called Happily Ever After. And I asked you a year ago that if you were considering divorce, I wanted you to take out your planner, your smartphone, put it on your calendar that 1 year from that day that you could file for divorce. Okay? But this was the caveat, and that is for the next year. Don't focus on what your spouse is doing wrong, how bad things are. Focus on only one thing, and that is, how can I be the person that the person I want wants? How can I be the person that the person I want wants? Instead of all of the flaws of the person you're with, how can I be the person who draws out of them the best? And if a year later you're still in the same spot and you've worked on you, then I will personally drive you to the attorney. So give me a call. But you know what I know has happened? I know that we've had folks to say, wait a minute, let me work on me. I know I've done that over this. I wasn't contemplating divorce. Murder maybe, but not divorce. But I just take the year and say, wait a minute, it's not about them. How can I be that person? Well, today we're going to talk about marriage. I'm going to go a little easier on you than I did last year with the sermon. People are still talking about the sermon, where everybody left with, not making eye contact but giggling and whistling. And so that was a little much for everybody. So we're going to scale it back just a little bit this year. We are going to talk about marriage. And when we talk about marriage, we're talking about your boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, your partner, whoever that is that's in your life, that significant person that you have in your life. Now, what I want you to do is I'm going to ask if our ushers would come and help us pass out Valentines. Everybody take a Valentine that you want to give to your spouse, your significant other. If you are not married and you don't have a boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, then take one that you're going to give to your kids or somebody that's special in your life, okay? There's another right there. There you go. So if you just go ahead and pass those out, take the one that you would give to your spouse. Now, when we were ripping all these up yesterday, my husband says to me, well, make sure that you tell the husbands and wives to sit next to each other so the wife can tell her husband that he picked the wrong one. Can we just say that maybe there's a little bit of tension in the Kelly household, okay? Now, let me also tell you, I took some out. We were ripping these up, and I took the ones out that you should not have any of these. It says, these are Dory Valentines. And it says, Happy Valentine's Day, but new rule, no talking. And I thought, I'm just going to head that one off at the pass, gentlemen. You cannot take this one. All right? I have all of them here. Now, this actually could be a little bit of fun, so I will leave them here if you want to come up afterwards and grab a couple, all right? You cannot take it for what we're going to talk about today, all right? So take one that you would like to give to your spouse. Well, like I said, I alluded to, there's a little bit of problem in the Kelly household this week. And remember last week I explained to you that I started a jewelry fund, and that I was having trouble in social situations, not going off my eating plan, or going off my eating plan. And I was like, what could I do that will make this better? And so we decided that I was going to put $20 on the refrigerator before I left the house to go to whatever social situation it was. And if I made it through without going off plan, that $20 went in my jewelry fund. But if I did go off plan, I had to take $20 out of my jewelry fund. Okay, so we have the big test the very first time. I think it was to our Talk It Over group. I had never successfully gone to a Talk It Over group that had cookies and not eaten at least one of them, okay? So I go out the door, I've got my $20 on the fridge, I get home, and I'm so proud of myself. I got that $20. It goes into my jewelry fund. Woohoo, bracelet, necklace, ring, whatever it is, here I come, right? Well, I didn't happen to see Ken until the next morning, and he comes in for lunch like we usually have on Tuesdays, and he said, well, was that really a social situation? I mean, come on, is that worth $20? Now, I got to tell you, gentlemen, in case you're not sure, that was the wrong response to that. Now, some of you know that I, on occasion, swear. Are you laughing at the swearing or the on occasion part? But I have this rule. I don't swear at people, okay? Inanimate objects, yes, but I don't swear at people. Well, I got to tell you, that day, I swore in his general direction, okay? It's like, and I won't tell you what it rhymes with, but it might have been brass pole. So, just got to say, okay, sometimes you just got to back it up a little bit and say, okay, let's talk about this just for a little bit. So we're going on vacation in a couple weeks, and I think Mr. Kelly figured out what the deal was, and so one of the things I've always wanted to do is go on a hot air balloon ride. It's on my bucket list. I want to do that. I want to jump out of an airplane. I want to go on a balloon ride, but it's going to be over $100, And so I said, oh, man, I'd really love to do this. It's going to be over $100. He goes, whatever you want, babe, you can have it. Balloon ride, I'll go with you, no problem, because he'd learned his lesson. And okay, things got a little better at the Kelly household after that one. Well, today we're going to talk about a scripture that's often misunderstood, often misquoted, and unfortunately used to do a whole lot of damage in people's relationships. But I'm just going to read one verse for you that kind of sums everything up, and we'll talk about the rest of it in context, okay? Ephesians chapter 5, verse 33. So Paul is saying, again, I say, each husband must love his wife as he loves himself, and the wife must respect her husband. Now, let me tell you what's going on in front of this, okay? Before this, I never preach from Ephesians chapter 5, because it always puts a cold chill down my spine, because it says something like this. It says, husband, love your wives. Wives, submit to your husbands. And you hear that word and you're like, oh, Because what does it used to mean? It's people have taken it to go, well, then you need to live the way my parents did or the way my grandparents did. And really what Paul, he kind of gets a little discombobulated the way he does every once in a while. And he goes, no, I'm speaking about Christ in the church. And when we talk about people loving and respecting and submitting to one another the way Christ does with the church, does that ever sound like anything where someone's forced to do something they don't want to do? Does that ever sound like one person taking advantage of another? You see, we tend to interpret that scripture through the lens of grandma and grandpa and how they lived instead of in the terms of Christ in the church, where Christ adores his bride, and his bride adores her husband. So anyhow, let's set all that aside, all right? He finally, after getting all discombobulated, no, I'm talking about Christ in the church, this is what he says. Okay. I'm going to say this again in case I wasn't clear. I got a little lost. Husbands, love your wives. Wives, respect your husbands. Okay? And again, today, boyfriend, girlfriend, partner, it applies to everybody. Well, I want you to notice the two words that Paul used, love and respect. Love and respect. It pretty well sums it all up. You see, there was a book out, it's a really great book if you want to get it. It's called The 5 Love Languages. And it basically says that if you want to communicate your love to someone, that you can spend all your time and all your energy communicating to them, but if you're not talking the language that their heart hears, then you're frustrated because you don't understand why they don't get how important that they are to you. And he goes through a series, and again, I want to encourage you to get the book, but I'll just name what they are. The first one is giving gifts. So this is a whole lot of help if you just stop after work and grab some flowers to take home, because that's what communicates that you really love the person. For somebody else, it's acts of service. It's like you can stop all day long and get the flowers, but really, if you just came home and did the dishes, that would be the sexiest thing ever. Okay? Acts of service. For someone else, it's quality time. It's you can go out and work as many hours and make as much money as you want, but what I really want is I want you to come home and I want you to sit on the couch with me. We can even just watch TV. I just want to spend some quality time together. Another one is physical touch. That just, let me know that you're there. Just be close, and that communicates to me that you love me. And the other one is words of affirmation. Can you just say it out loud and let me know? Lift me up. Let me know that I look good. Let me know that you appreciate what I've done. Let me know. Just say the words out loud so that I can hear them. Whichever love language that you have or that your spouse has makes a huge difference in how they hear what you say and what you do. Well, it's kind of like that old geezer that said, well, I told you I loved you in a marriage, and if it changes, I'll let you know. That's not good, because Paul says, guys, you need to love your wives, and let me tell you why. Because there is no switch that gets flipped in your wife so that she feels permanently loved. There is no switch that's ever going to get flipped and turned on that says that she will feel permanently loved. It needs to be communicated in a way she can understand as often as necessary. As often as necessary. Love your wives. It's not just I love you, but it's I choose you again today. I would make that choice all over again. When you communicate your love for your spouse, you're saying, I choose you again today. Now, I did some research for the message this week, and I came across this really interesting study that they did. And they asked women, what would help you feel loved? What is it that you need from your partner to be able to feel like, you're right there, you're engaged together? And they said, you know what? 87% said this. I know we fight. I know things go wrong. I know sometimes you just need your space. But if you would simply say to me, I need my space, but we're okay. I need my space, but we're okay. That would help me so much, because when you go quiet, when you go dark, I think it's about me. And I think it means that you've changed your affection for me. Just let me know. I just need a little bit of space, but we're okay. We're okay. We'll come back and we'll re-engage. Okay? 94% of the women said, would you just hold my hand in public? Would you just hold my hand? It just says to me, out of all of the people in your life, you're the one I choose again today. That's simple. 94%. I can't wait to see you. I can't wait to be with you. There was a movie out called Parent Trap. You remember that one? They've done a couple versions of it where the twins get separated. One parent, they get divorced. One parent goes to Europe. One goes to the U.S., stays in the U.S., and they get together for summer camp and hatch this plot. The twins hatch this plot to get mom and dad back together again. Finally get them in the same room, and they begin to talk, and there's a scene where they said, when did you know we were in trouble? And she said, when you didn't pick me up at the airport. When you didn't pick me up from the airport, I knew something had changed, because you used to be so happy to see me. Isn't that interesting? Some little gesture that says, I miss you. I'm so happy to be with you. I choose you again today, not just before. Now, guys, most guys, you know what? She's still married to me. She still loves me, right? You know, they got it once. They don't need it again. But gals need to hear this. Most gals, not all, but most. And some husbands too. I choose you again every day. So, gentlemen, I want you to take out your Valentine. There's a pen in your pew. I want you to take out your Valentine. Okay? I'll give you a minute. You put it in your wallet, didn't you? Okay. I want you to write something to your spouse. Okay? Let me help. Don't get ahead of me. Something like this. Choose, I love you. I choose you all over again. I love you. I choose you. Ladies, when you get this Valentine, okay, sometime between now and Valentine's Day, guys, make sure she finds this on her makeup mirror or in the car, in her purse, something, okay? When you get this, it is not okay to say, the only reason you did this was because Pastor Vicki told you to. All right? Head that one off at the pass too, right? Listen, he just didn't know. He didn't know what language to put it in. He didn't realize because, sorry, that was funny but inappropriate. When you got married, he got that, okay? He figured it out. He didn't realize that you got to hear this every day. He didn't realize that you need your tank filled every day, okay? All right. Right, I love you, I choose you. Something that says to her, I would choose you all over again. All right? Okay. Then Paul goes on to say, wives, respect your husbands. Now, isn't it interesting? Because really, he's just talking about loving each other, but he gives us the way that we need to love our husbands, the way that we need to love our spouse, the way we need to love our partners. He uses the word respect here because I think what we've figured out is this. Men will give up love in order to have respect. It is that important to him. Men will give up love in order to have respect because it's that important to him. Wives, respect your husbands. Then when they were conducting this study, they were talking to guys and said, you know, what is it that your wife could do that would communicate her respect for you? And they said, you know what? There's a million ways that she communicates that nothing I do is good enough. And she doesn't even realize it. And the one guy told the story. He said, my wife had a meeting and she said, please, honey, would you clean the kitchen after dinner so that when I get home, it'll be an exhausting day. I just want to go to bed. And he said that he did. He cleaned the kitchen up. He said, she comes in the door. I said, I give her a hug, and she gives me one of these, just real fast pats. He said, I can tell what she's doing is she's looking at the counter to see if I did it well enough. And then she walks over, and there were crumbs under the toaster. I didn't even know you could have crumbs under the toaster, but instead of going to bed, she cleaned the kitchen because I didn't do it good enough. Didn't do it good enough. So they said, well, then what's the one thing that she could do that could help you feel respected? And they said, just say thank you. Acknowledge that I did something and it was good enough for you. And the lady who was conducting this, she said that I was given the results of this survey to the people in the office, and she said, I got to that, and one of my colleagues stood straight up and walked out the door really fast, and I thought, what in the world's going on? So I finished my presentation to the staff, and she comes back in, and I says, what was that about? And she said, when I left the house to get into work, she said, my husband was hanging a chandelier. And do you know what I said to him? Don't break anything. And she said, I felt so convicted by that. She said, I had to go out, and I texted him, and I said, honey, thank you so much for hanging that chandelier. I can't wait to see what it looks like when I get home. Do you know what his response was? Who are you, and why do you have my wife's phone? Yeah. A simple thank you. A thank you that says, you are enough. You matter. I know they project confidence. I know they project like they've got it all together, but there's still someone inside of them that says, I don't know whether or not I measure up, whether or not I'm good enough. And there are so many ways you can communicate that you are the person I had hoped you to be. You are the person that I had hoped you to be. So, ladies, take out your Valentine and your pen. I want you to write something for your partner that says, thank you. Or even better, you're my hero. You're my hero. What is it that's going to say, you are who I wanted you to be? You are exactly who I wanted you to be. Now, if somebody has the gift or the love language of gifts, you could add $100 to it, or, says flowers, stick it in the flowers and give it to them. Find a way to speak their language and say, thank you. I appreciate what you do. I appreciate what you do. Not to get too personal, but that's one of the things that very early on my husband and I communicated about, because I grew up in a family I've told you about before that they were not real affectionate. And by that, I mean, I'm not quite sure how they propagated the species, okay? And and I really don't want to know. I just, there was just no evidence of it in anything that I ever saw. And when I got married, I was very, very forthright with Ken, and I said, I will never live another day in that kind of an atmosphere. I love my parents, they're wonderful people, but I will not live that way the rest of my life. And I said, I need you to let me know that you love me. I need you to say the words. I need you to hold my hand. I need you to act like you're happy that I'm in your life. I said, I will promise you that I will light up simply because you walk in the room. You don't have to do anything else to that. But I need you to know that the way that I need to be loved every day. And I got to tell you, it has made a world of difference in our relationship, because I simply let him know what it was that would communicate that to me, what it was that I needed. And he has been rewarded generously with my devotion for him, because he's been wonderful to me. It's not that difficult when we begin to talk about those things that'll help us simply feel the love that you already have for each other, but communicate it in a way that they can understand. Thank you. You're my hero. You're my hero. So joked about being a little tense in the Kelly household. Well, yesterday we got to polishing up our message, and I said, honey, I have no doubt in my mind that I have done this to you. You see, I'm one of these people that if I can walk in a room, I'll pick out the one thing that needs fixed, and really pretty quickly. And I said, I have no doubt I've done this, and I am so sorry. I said, is there anything in particular that you remember that I need to apologize for? And I said one thing, but what I meant was 12, because I'm sure that I've done that more than once. He said, well, the one that comes to mind. He said, we were going to put out a garden, and we were doing this thing called square foot gardening. And you're supposed to have this mixture of this different stuff to go in the soil. And he said, I had spent all morning trying to figure out how to get this mixture, trying to get it in the beds and everything. And he said, you walked out the door, and the first words out of your mouth were, how many kinds of poo did you use? Because for square foot gardening, you're supposed to have 5 kinds of poo. And I'm like, I kind of doubt there's 5 kinds of poo in there. So I said, how many kinds of poo are there? He says, you almost got one more kind of poo back at you that day. When you said that, he said, I had spent so long trying to do that. And I said, I am so sorry. He goes, I've learned not to take it personally. And I said, that's not the point. The point is I didn't want you to have to learn that and never would intend for you to do that. He said, that was a few years ago. He said, let me tell you what I noticed this time. You see, my husband doesn't have a whole lot of mechanical aptitude. There are other things he's much better at. And we have these doors over the stove that were whopper-jawed, okay? And every time you go to cook, you could see how they were visibly off. And I had asked him if he could straighten it up, and it had 1,200 screws, and he's visually impaired to try to figure out which one of them all, even where they are. It was quite a task. And when it was done, it was worse than it was before he started. But I didn't say anything. And we had some friends over for dinner the other day, and Ken wasn't able to be there. He had a funeral. And I took one of them aside, and I said, could you please fix those doors? I said, I don't know how or what, but please, and please, whatever you do, don't say anything to anybody about it. So we got fixed, and that night, Ken crawls into bed, and he goes, so what needed fixed? What do you mean? He goes, your screwdriver's out on the counter, and I know it's yours because it's pink. And so I told him, I said, I'm sorry, honey, you'd never known that, but I asked Richard if he would fix that for me. And he said, thank you for doing that. And when we talked yesterday, he said, that really meant a lot to me, that you would do what you could to make sure that I wasn't embarrassed. He says, we both know I don't have a mechanical aptitude, but he said, I just appreciated the way you handled that. So we can learn. Unfortunately, we have to, because we don't always get it right. So why is this important? What's the point? Well, you see, that was the other thing that they realized when they did all this research, is that the way you treat each other will outlive you. The way you treat each other will outlive you. Now, let me tell you what I mean by that. They have figured out that the way your children will be treated in their marriages are not how you treat them. It's how you treat each other. They don't go looking for people who treat them the way you treated them. They go looking for people who treat them the way you treated your spouse. If you want your daughter to have someone who is crazy about her and treats her like a princess, it's not you treating her like a princess, it's you treating her mother like a princess. If you want your son to have somebody who lights up just because he walks in the room, that's what you need to do with your spouse. Because that's what's going to make the difference in how they live. That's what's going to make the difference in their marriages. It's that important. it will outlast you. It will help determine that they be happy. Now, we're not always going to get it right. And we're going to have those conversations where we say, I'm sorry I screwed that up. But what we've decided and committed to is that we're going to be my kind of crazy together. We don't have it all put together. We're not perfect. We're just going to be in this committed to one another, to be broken together, to be together and say, we're going to make this work, not only for us, but for our kids as well. Now, we're going to have communion, and in the process of it, what I want you to do is if your spouse is with you, come with them. If they're not, that's okay. If you don't have a spouse, that's okay. If you don't have a friend with you today. But as you come forward, I want you to know that this is the opportunity to be able to say, good, bad, ugly, this is who we are. We're going to be broken in this together. Because the really cool part about communion is that what communion is God pouring out his love to us and the reminder that we have of that. That it's not just about 2,000 years ago. It's not just about what happened way back then or even when we decided to come to Christ. This is our reminder that says, I choose you all over again. I love you again today. That's what we celebrate when we take communion. I want you to listen to this song. I want you to commit yourselves to one another to be our kind of crazy and broken together.
Do you think about when you look at me? I know we're not the fairy tale we dreamed we'd be. You wore the veil, you walked the aisle, you took my hand, and we dove into a mystery. How I wish we could go back to simpler times, before all the stars and all our secrets were in light. Now on this hollowed ground we've drawn the battle line. Will we make it through the night? It's gonna take much more than promises this time. Only God can change our minds. Maybe you and I were never meant to be complete. Could we just be broken together? Your shattered dreams and I'll bring mine. Could healing still be spoken and save us? The only way we'll last forever is broken together.
How it must have been so lonely by my side. We were building kingdoms and chasing dreams and left love behind. I'm praying God will help our broken hearts align, and we won't give up the fight. It's gonna take much more than promises this time. Only God can change our minds. Maybe you and I were never meant to be complete. Could we just be broken together? shattered dreams, and I'll bring mine. Could healing still be spoken and save us? The only way will last forever is broken together.
Maybe you and I were never meant to be complete. Could we just be broken together? If you could bring your shattered dreams and I'll bring mine, could healing still be spoken and save us? The only way will last forever. It's broken together.
On the night that Jesus died, he took bread and he gave thanks to God for it, and he broke it. And he said, "This is my body, which is broken for you." And after the meal was over, he took the cup and he lifted it up and he gave thanks to God and said, "Take and drink. This is my blood, which is poured out for you, for the forgiveness of your sins and the forgiveness of many. As often as you do this, remember me. Remember my love for you." As you come forward this morning, come with your spouse, your partner, if you have one. If not, come knowing that you are whole and complete as you are. As you come forward, I'm just going to invite you to come up the middle aisle and receive the bread, dip it into the juice, and take your communion in that way so that you might be able to receive the grace that God has poured upon us. You don't have to be a member of our church. You just simply have to desire to come closer to God. Be part of our final blessing. Please stand and raise your hand with us. Go from this place today with the grace that God has poured upon you, the reminder of his great love for you, and know that you are now broken bread and poured out wine for your spouse, for your partner, for your children, and for everyone you're going to meet this week. God bless you. Amen.